Now, let's continue on with dun, 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 the thing that had blew up the news for the last 48 hours. And that, my friends, that is the raid on Mar-a-Lago. Mar-a-Lago, lots of news to cover there. So let's go ahead and talk about it and understand what is happening there. So let's talk about it. Unless you've been living under a rock or in total news blackout, you already know that Donald Trump's Mar-a-Lago resort was searched by a team of FBI agents on Monday. There's been a lot of speculation and misinformation, so we're going to dive into what's currently known about what led up to the search and what it appears to be about. So the FBI search at Mar-a-Lago comes months after federal investigators served an earlier grand jury subpoena and took away sensitive national security documents from Trump's property during a June meeting, people familiar with the matter told CNN. Former President Trump received a subpoena this spring in search of documents that federal investigators believed he had failed to turn over earlier this year. The existence of the subpoena helps to flush out the sequence of events and lead the search of Trump's home on Monday by FBI agents seeking classified materials they believed might be still there. Now, the subpoena suggests that the Justice Department tried methods short of a search warrant to account for the materials before the politically explosive step of sending FBI agents unannounced to Mar-a-Lago. Two people briefed on the classified documents that investigators believed remained at Mar-a-Lago indicated that they were so sensitive in nature and related to national security that the Justice Department was forced to act. The search was prompted in part because officials had developed evidence, including from at least one witness, that there were potentially classified documents still remaining at the Palm Beach property. As you might remember, in January, the National Archives arranged for the retrieval of 15 boxes of documents that included classified information in January of this year. After that retrieval, authorities believed that the documents remaining at Mar-a-Lago had national security implications. In early June, 4 investigators visited the resort seeking more information about potentially classified materials from Trump's time in the White House that had been removed when he left office. The investigators, including Jay Barrett, the chief of the Counterintelligence and Export Control section of the Justice Department, sat down with 2 Trump's attorneys, Bob and Eva Cochran, according to a source present for the meeting. In the June meeting, investigators were shown where documents were held in a basement room at Trump's residence. It was found that the boxes seized in January containing some of the materials that were part of the NSA's Special Access Program, SAP, a classification that includes protocols to significantly limit who would have access to that information. The discovery of SAP materials has not been previously reported. That discovery led to FBI interviews with aides, then to a grand jury subpoena, and then to this week's court-authorized search and seizure of said documents. It is not clear yet what precise materials that subpoena sought or what documents the former president might have provided in response. The discovery of the SAP materials has not been... that's been already said. In addition to the grand jury subpoena for documents, federal investigators separately served a subpoena for surveillance video at Mar-a-Lago, seeking to gather information about who had access to the areas where the documents may have been stored. A few days after that visit, Mr. Barrett's team, Mr. Cochran, a few days after that visit, Mr. Barrett emailed Mr. Cochran and told him to further secure the remaining documents, which were kept in the storage area with a stronger padlock, one of the people had said. Then they subpoenaed surveillance footage from the club, which could have given officials a glimpse of who was coming in and out of that storage area, according to a person with knowledge of the matter. The received footage, specifically from the areas of the club where they believed the documents might have been stored, also was according to that source. Now, the Justice Department has asked a court to unseal that search warrant that the FBI received before searching the Florida estate. Trump himself issued a press release regarding the search this past Monday. Since then, he and his lawyers have sought to present their interactions with the Justice Department prosecutors as cooperative. claiming that the search came as a shock. It should be mentioned that Trump himself made it a felony to mishandle classified documents in 2018 as part of his "we need to get Hillary Clinton away from everything." So that's a bit of the information, and it's kind of funny that Trump is getting hoisted by his own petard, so to speak. But there's still more. So the call came from inside the circle. That's what we're going to call this little segment. So earlier this spring, federal investigators began interviewing members of Trump's staff at Mar-a-Lago and former White House officials who were involved in moving documents from the West Wing to his Palm Beach residence at the end of his presidency. During that same period, investigators were in contact with a number of Trump's aides who had some knowledge of how he stored and moved documents around the White House and who still worked for him. Two senior government officials told Newsweek that one individual guided authorities to documents at Mar-a-Lago and that the raid was set to occur when Trump was out of town to avoid a galvanizing photo op. Now, according to the Wall Street Journal, they also corroborated those claims, speaking with anonymous sources who said the information they knew, the location of these documents, and that Trump stored many more at Mar-a-Lago than the 15 boxes in February. Less than 2 months later, about 24 FBI agents intentionally not wearing the blue windbreaker emblazoned with the agency's logo, usually worn during searches, appeared at Mar-a-Lago with a warrant. The club was closed. Mr. Trump was not present. The FBI startled a crew fixing a large fountain, a maid who was dusting, and a handful of Secret Service agents who guarded the complex. The search warrant was broad, allowing the agents to investigate all areas of the club where classified materials may have been stored. They went through the basement, Mr. Trump's office, and at least part of the residence at the club itself. After hours of searching, they left with several boxes. The person said that the FBI left behind a 2-page manifest of what was taken. Sources close to Trump told Rolling Stone he is now so paranoid he's worried about being wiretapped and trying to root out the quote-unquote FBI rat. Quote, "He has asked me and others, do you think our phones were tapped?" one source told Rolling Stone. Continuing on, given the sheer volume of investigations going on into the former president, I do not think he's assuming anything outside the realm of possibilities. So, again, if you're paranoid, which it seems that Trump is, he's going to start trying to figure out who was the mole. Was it the usual suspects? Was it his own son? Who knows? It could have been anybody. But that is kind of interesting things that we're just talking about and thinking about over here. I'm telling you. Now, one of the things that also has been clear from all this that's been going on, all the news reporting and everything like that, is that Trump has tried and to a degree successfully controlled the narrative, at least for a certain segment of the population. And this is something that I said on Twitter. You need to tell your side of the story first. You need to tell your side of the story first about whatever it is. It doesn't matter what we're talking about, because the first person that first reveals anything that's going on in a like he said she said situation or what have you, right, is going to be more likely to be believed, because the response from the other party is going to be looking like they're trying to defend themselves and shirk blame. Doesn't matter what it is. This could be anything from stealing cookies from the cookie jar to as much as like trying to lie to the FBI. Like, it doesn't matter. If you don't get your side of the story out first, you're going to be less likely to believe. And if you fail to do that, which the FBI and the Department of Justice did fail at, they didn't do any like grand announcement like while it was happening, right? They could have done that. They could have gotten their side of the story first, but they wanted to avoid looking political here, making it look more political because Trump controlled the narrative at first. Then the only way that you can actively change the narrative and get people back on your side is to what I would call flood the zone. Give all the information that you can as quickly as you can and repeat it as often as you can. And with that, it seems like the Department of Justice, specifically Merrick Garland, is trying to do that. So we're going to go ahead and turn over to that now. So Merrick Garland had response to the flood of attacks and misinformation coming from Trump and his allies, made a statement today.
Since I became Attorney General, I have made clear the Department of Justice will speak through its court filings and its work. Just now, Justice Department has filed a motion in the Southern District of Florida to unseal a search warrant and property receipt relating to a court-approved search that the FBI conducted earlier this week.
So this is one of those situations where, like I said, they're going to release as much information as they can about the nature of the search and seizure. And so Garland has moved fairly quickly, although maybe he should have did this beforehand, I don't know, but fairly quickly into getting the process started and finished to release the grand jury indictment. Let's continue listening now.
That search was of premises located in Florida belonging to the former president. The department did not make any public statements on the day of the search. The former president publicly confirmed the search that evening, as is his right. Copies of both the warrant and the FBI property receipt were provided on the day of the search to the former president's counsel, who was on site during the search. The search warrant was authorized by a federal court upon the required finding of probable cause.
So this is the reason that he is being clear about this particular action and the fact that it came from the court is to ensure that the checks and balances on the system are being known and being followed. That way that people can, Trump followers are going to believe what they're going to believe, right? They're the devout of the devout are going to not believe anything he said, but it's about everybody else. And by saying like, hey, we're following the process, this was pretty routine, like he failed to provide all the information that we asked for him, grand jury indicted him, that shows that this process has been followed and it has been not political.
The property receipt is a document that federal law requires law enforcement agents to leave with the property owner. The department filed the motion to make public the warrant and receipt in light of the former president's public confirmation of the search, the surrounding circumstances, and the substantial public interest in this matter.
In other words, we crossed our T's, dotted our I's. You ain't got nothing on us.
Faithful adherence to the rule of law is the bedrock principle of the Justice Department and of our democracy. Upholding the rule of law means applying the law evenly, without fear or favor. Under my watch, that is precisely what the Justice Department is doing. All Americans are entitled to the even-handed application of the law, due process of the law, and to the presumption of innocence. Much of our work is by necessity conducted out of the public eye. We do that to protect the constitutional rights of all Americans and to protect the integrity of our investigations. Federal law, long-standing department rules, and our ethical obligations prevent me from providing further details as to the basis of the search at this time.
In other words, don't want to bias anything, bias potential jurors, yada, yada, yada. But we're going to release as much as we can because we have to.
There are, however, certain points I want you to know. First, I personally approved the decision to seek a search warrant in this matter.
Now that's important. So this means that it went to the highest level for approval that you can go to in the Department of Justice, right? And while you can say that Garland is a political appointee, he's supposed to be non-political. And by going all the way up the chain, it means that every single sort of look, second look, third look, fourth look, of whatever, over the subpoena, over the warrant was made. And so that he himself is taking it upon himself to say that the buck stops here and I approve this because it was necessary.
Second, the department does not take such a decision lightly. Where possible, it is standard practice to seek less intrusive means as an alternative to a search and to narrowly scope any search that is undertaken.
So the reason that he's saying this is because Trump has balked at every single request coming from the Department of Justice, the National Archives, judges, everything. He's basically said, nope, not doing it, not providing information, not doing it, not following you, I don't need to, whatever, right? And because they were left with no other alternative to follow the law, they had to go and raid his residence, his estate. Which, duh, like, if you have been under grand jury indictment and under court orders to provide information by law, you are required to do that. And if you fail to do that, then by law, the Department of Justice in this case, or your state, whatever level of government we're talking about, is authorized to get a warrant to get those documents, those items, whatever it is. Even to subpoena you to testify in court doesn't mean you can't plead the fifth, which we all know Trump was going to plead the fifth. He's going to do it, right? But that means that the Department of Justice is following procedure and the law.
Third, let me address recent unfounded attacks on the professionalism of the FBI and Justice Department agents and prosecutors.
This is his "how dare you" moment.
I will not stand by silently when their integrity is unfairly attacked. Men and women of the FBI and the Justice Department are dedicated, patriotic public servants. Every day, they protect the American people from violent crime, terrorism, and other threats to their safety while safeguarding our civil rights. They do so
at least safeguarding civil rights now. At least safeguarding the civil rights while a Democrat is in charge.
great personal sacrifice and risk to themselves. I am honored to work alongside them. This is all I can say right now. More information will be made available in the appropriate way and at the appropriate time. Thank you.
So that's important to end on there. So what? Oh, no. Are you serious, Nikki? Hold up. We're going to have to read a news article directly 20 minutes ago while we were streaming. According to the Washington Post. Thanks, Nikki, for pointing this out. Let me throw this on the screen real quick. Breaking news from Nikki. Thanks, Nikki, producer. Appreciate you. The FBI is looking for nuclear documents. That's huge. That's ginormous. We're going to go ahead and, before we get into the attacks and everything like that, and the defund the FBI, we'll get into this really quick, because this is extremely, extremely important. Oof. All right, breaking as of 20 minutes ago from the Washington Post. Classified documents relating to nuclear weapons were among the items FBI agents sought in a search of former President Donald Trump's Florida residence on Monday, according to people familiar with the investigation. Experts in classified information said that the unusual search underscores deep concern among government officials about the type of information they thought could be located at Trump's Mar-a-Lago club and potentially in danger of falling into the wrong hands. The people who described some of these materials that agents were seeking spoke on the condition of anonymity to discuss an ongoing investigation. They did not offer additional details about what type of information the agents were seeking, including whether it involved weapons belonging to the United States or some other nation. Nor did they say if such documents were recovered as part of the search. A Trump spokesman did not immediately respond to a request for comment. The Justice Department and FBI also failed to comment. So let's read that again. The people who described some of the material that agents were seeking spoke on the condition of anonymity to discuss ongoing investigations. They did not offer additional details about the type of information the agents were seeking, including whether it involved weapons belonging to the United States or some other nation. The main screen here. So basically, what is breaking here is that the people familiar with the investigation had said that they are looking for documents pertaining to nuclear weapons. However, they are unsure whether those documents relate to the United States or another nation that has nuclear weapons. Now, this part is huge because we all know that China intelligence operatives have already tried to infiltrate Mar-a-Lago through buying access, which, by the way, it's for a foreign adversary, it's very cheap to buy access to get to Donald Trump in Mar-a-Lago. It's $10,000. And with that $10,000, we're actually going to go over that real quick. Let's see here. Let me pull that up because it's funny. I found it. So people might know I attended a Trump Freedom Rally tour thingy a few months back, and I get their emails still. And their emails have all kinds of stuff. And this is important to what we're talking about because it's pretty good. So, with congressional membership, you too, yes, you too, for $10,000 can get 2 congressional seats at an American Freedom Tour event, 1 seat at a private roundtable discussion with top influencers, 2 photo ops with one of our headline speakers, American Freedom Club weekly newsletter, American Freedom Club monthly impact call, American Freedom Tour commemorative coin, advance notice of all Freedom Tour American events, and American Freedom Tour Club membership card. Now, why do I bring that up? Because in the thing that I just read off, it came from the Trump people. The American Freedom Tour, the LLC designed, the nonprofit designated as an LLC designated to blink Trump supporters out of a ton of money. And when I say a ton of money, I mean they're selling classes that go for like $40,000 a class. All right. And we're going to talk about that. We're going to have on this show investigative reporting on that. All right. But that includes private things with Trump and access to Mar-a-Lago. So that's important to know. So just for the low price of 10,000 smackers, you too can get access to all the Trump secrets that Trump keeps.